Hey guys, and welcome back to Break-Free Trading. This is Asker, and I wanted to do an overview video for all the new people joining us here in Break-Free Trading. It's a very exciting time, and I understand there's a lot of questions out there that we haven't covered yet. So I'll do my best to get everyone up to speed. And if there's any questions that I do not cover in this video, feel free to put a comment below the video with your question, and I'll get it back to you, or I will record another video and include the question. So yes, let's get on with it. What is Neural Agent? Neural Agent is first of its kind, fully automatic trading agent. It's an AI system that basically is designed to read all of the active buying and selling programs in the financial markets, and then use this intelligence to position itself in a way to take advantage of the liquidity providers, the market makers, the buyers and the sellers in the market. So in many ways, this is a very different operation than what you maybe have seen before. And that's also why most of the time your account will be in negative, like the P&L will be open in negative. And this is an inherent feature of the trading algorithm. Okay, so don't worry about this. It will always be in negative. Whenever it goes into profit, it will be closed very fast and it's going to repeat it again. Now, we have back tested this and we have done tremendous work across multiple different markets to build this global market profile that can be applied to all financial markets in the whole world. It works for everything. So that's what Neural Agent is. It's fully automatic, it's first of its kind, and you're only seeing the very beginning of it. You're going to see a lot more. The trading strategy that we execute is something, it takes quite a while to explain, and I'm not sure this is the video for it, but if you are interested to understand the trading strategy, I'll put a link below to our previous trading academy where you can watch me explain the strategy over 4 or 5 hours if you want to learn. But there's no need for this at all. It's just if you're curious, okay? Now, how do you install the Neural Agent? Well, you should have your MT5 and you should have your Neural Agent up here with a blue hat ready to go. If you don't have this, I'll put another video below this video that you can click to install the Neural Agent and get started with it. So I get a question a lot, how much money people should be trading with and how much they should. So first of all, we can only give ideal recommendations. It doesn't mean that you can't make it work at other sizes. It's just that this is what we recommend if you are to get started. So the ideal minimum amount that I recommend people starting with is $1,200. That's a good starting point, which will allow you to trade multiple markets at the same time, while you also have some room and make sure that you don't overextend yourself and start losing money because you're too aggressive, right? And what I mean by this is if you have a small account less than $1,200 and you start trading 12 markets at the same time, and you also change some of the initial settings in the trading bot, then you can get hurt for sure. But as the initial settings come with the trading bot, you don't have to worry. It's already designed when you install it to be safe and not to do anything on your account that could put you in jeopardy or put you at risk, okay? But it doesn't mean you cannot modify that. It's the same, you know, if you go out and you buy a scissor, you can use it to cut paper or you can use it to do something terrible, stupid, right? So it really depends on how you use the tool. And the same goes for the Neural Agent. So I suggest people start with $1,200 and see where that takes you, okay? And a second question I get is what is the maximum? The maximum that you're probably looking to trade with a broker currently would be around $500,000 in my opinion. That is the current upper limit where I think we might start to see some inefficiency, but it really depends on the broker as well. You know, you might be able to take $1 million, $2 million and work with IC markets because they are really big and they are a huge liquidity provider. But you might find that other brokers are not able to even handle maybe $100,000 of liquidity to efficiently fill your positions. They will say yes. They will say you can deposit as much as you want and you can trade with as much as you want. But what you will find is that at a certain point, your position sizes that the Neo agent will trade for you, depending on how much you're risking and so on, will get to a size that they can be too big for the broker, especially if this is like a small broker. And they will not tell you, but they will start to slip you and cost you a lot of money. And what that means is that they will not actually execute your order at where it should. It'll be worse than it should because they need to profit from your execution. So it's very important that if you trade large capital, you always trade with a trustworthy broker like IC Markets. Okay, don't put too much trust in these low cap offshore brokers. It's better to increase the leverage and give them less money. So instead of giving them $30,000 to work with, it's better to give them $10,000 and then increase the risk 3x. So you're risking $30,000, but you're only giving them $10,000. This is a smart way to use leverage. Don't trust these guys. Make sure that you do deposit and withdrawals with them and check them out. If they're not like, IC Markets are a huge broker, right? So another question is which is hosting Neo agent on your own computer or putting it on a VPS. What is the difference? Well, let's take IC Markets. IC Markets' main trading servers are located in New York, right next to Wall Street. This is the financial center of the world. So when everything happens, it happens over there within 1 millisecond across the whole, all their computers. All of them, they receive all the data within 1 millisecond. But if you're like me and you're in Asia and you're in Europe or Australia for that matter, by the time that you actually receive the data, the data transfers from New York and it actually gets to where you are, it might take 250, 300 milliseconds. And by the time that the bot receives the update in the market that the market has now moved and is now here, and it responds to this and it sends back a response to what have happened in the market, it will also take another 250, 300 milliseconds to get back to New York. So it's going to take you about 500, 600 milliseconds to respond when you are hosting it on your own computer. This can mean quite a bit. Of course, if you're trading $1,000 trading account, then maybe it doesn't really matter. But overall, as you gear up, as you are trading larger amount, and you're working with more money and you're looking for more efficiency, it's much better to have Neo agent on a VPS located in New York, just 1 millisecond away from the actual trading server, so that Neo agent can receive the updates as they happen and respond to them within 1 or 2 milliseconds. This is definitely what you want to do long term, but it's not necessarily a requirement to get started, but you will be able to see this, okay? So it's also nice, you don't have to worry about power cuts. You don't have to worry about resources on your computer or closing your computer, electricity or anything like that. The VPS just runs offline and you always know it's running. You don't have to worry about anything at all. So I recommend a VPS for sure. So let's go about settings. We have two options to manage the Neo agent settings. First of all, we have settings in MT5, but we also have settings in Navigator. So we'll start with the MT5. So you can double click the Neo agent here and it will bring up the settings panel. And it should look like this from the beginning. And what you can see here is that the very first setting we have is commission per traded lot. This is set to 7. So this means when a position is open and closed, you will pay the broker a price for executing that trade, and what the price for executing that trade is what you're putting here. So if it costs $3.5 per lot to open a trade and $3.5 to close a trade with one lot, this is the usual price, you'll put 7 because that's the total price, right, to open and close. It costs both ways. You can also go ahead and increase this a little bit if you want to try to squeeze more money out of Neo agent. You can. I will say that it has some benefits, but it also has some problems. Because the problem with increasing the commission, so the bot would make more money per trade, is that sometimes it's gonna miss an exit and it might get stuck in a trade. What I will say is that we are including this in a future update to improve this. So it will be automatically boosting the TP when there's more profit to extract from the markets. So this is everything. We are always optimizing and improving every single little detail we can around this. The next setting is the bot update interval. This is just the frequency of the bot running, and you can decrease this or increase this depending on if you have, if you're working with a prop firm and they're very strict on how many updates per second you can update orders and so on, and they will have these restrictions, then you can increase this to even 300 and reduce the speed of the overall agent that it works at. But for everyone else, 30 is good. You don't have to worry about it. Execution mode, this is limit orders, or you can have stealth. Stealth is market execution. It means that instead of the orders being placed like pending orders in the market, they will only execute once the market actually reaches the price. That's what happens when you have stealth. So by default, just use limit. If you need for some reason to hide your orders, you can use stealth. You can try to give it a go. Minimal points of price shift to modify this, modify orders. This is again another rate limitation for the bot, so it doesn't just update orders for every single tiny change in price. If the order just needs to be changed a tiny bit, this is a minimum in pips that the price needs to shift before it will modify the order. So 3 is a good amount. You can increase this again if you need to reduce the amount of requests or the amount of updates that the bot does to the orders. You can increase this. The next is enable auto TP within range, and this is just a security to lock in profit when it gets really close to the TP. So, and the same here, it's just where it places the actual lock in of the profits. Trailing TP pips, this is just an option to add a trailing stop loss, to a take profit trailing stop loss behind the orders. We don't use this anymore. Some might use it, but it's not really efficient. Max position on a time frame. Now again, if you're trading a very large account, meaning you're trading maybe 100k, 500k account, something like this, you probably want to increase your max positions on the time frame. What this will do is that instead of placing a single order per these bands, it's gonna place multiple orders across the whole band, and these multiple orders will basically divide a huge order into multiple small orders. It's not going to scare the market. It will be easier to trade in and out of these positions. So this is really just for large accounts. Most probably don't need it. The next part is scale risk based on trend strength. And what this allows is basically the new agent to scale risk into positions into these markets depending on how much strength they have. So the more strength that these markets have, you can see, for example, here on EUR/CHF, it has 78%, 61% here, but down here you can see CAD/CHF only has 22%. So what this does is that it will scale the risk of the neo agent into the markets with the highest probability of where this market is heading, meaning that whenever we have a high strength, this is when we can have the most predictable market behavior whenever it deviates. For example, as you can see here on EUR/CHF, it keeps deviating from these bands, and that's because it has a really high strength. So it's really just a safe risk mechanism to deploy risk into markets with higher probability of success, and I suggest you leave it as it is. Skip orders smaller than minimum size. This is again a risk limitation. This is specifically for small accounts. The problem is that for most brokers, they do not allow you to place orders smaller than 0.01 lot. So the smallest positions you can place is that amount. Now, if you have a very small account size, like let's say $600, and this is all you have, it will not place any orders for you with this really enabled, because the orders it's trying to place is too small to actually be placed. So instead, what you can do, if you really want to force it, is that you can turn this to false, and then it will, instead of trying to place this super small order that it can't place with the broker. It's just going to place the smallest minimum order possible, 0.01. Now, if you do this and you have a small account and you enable, you turn this to false here, and you then have 6 markets trading at the same time, it will exceed your risk amount, okay? So what is good is always to go to the Navigator, log in to the bridge with your trading account that you also have Neural Agent on, go to the risk tab, and you'll be able to always monitor how much risk is deployed across these markets you're trading. And you just want to make sure that it's not getting extreme and it's not getting crazy, right? Because if you have a very small account and you turn this to false, it will be placing 0.01 across all these markets at the same time and exceed the risk that it's supposed to take. It is a manual override. You're not really supposed to use it. It is just, this is just if you don't have enough money and you want to force it to trade, it doesn't mean it's going to be a great long-term solution at all. In fact, I highly suggest that if you're a beginner and you don't really know anything at all, just keep the default settings. Don't worry about all these different settings. I'm just walking you through them so you can understand them if you need to. So those are the risk settings. We have the trading timeframes as well. And again, this is all features and settings that will be moved over to Navigator. Soon this will not be available. The Neural Agent will be deciding all of this for you. You don't have to worry about it. You don't even have to worry about it now. But basically you have a setting here to enable trading on the higher time frames. So if you wanted to start trading on the 1 hour and the 4 hour as well, you can enable these, and then the risk will be divided across all the time frames. Now, the prefix and the suffix, this is an option for you if you have a strange broker that has some strange symbols in the watch list over here that doesn't match with our symbols in Navigator. You can either add a suffix or a prefix. For example, there's a lot of brokers in Hong Kong that uses this .hkt after, so you would put this, right? And the same goes for the rest of the symbols. If they have some specific symbol or something you need to add, you can go about it here. So these are the settings in the Neural Agent in MT5. By default, you don't have to do anything. You just put this in, it will work off the bat. You don't have to really worry about it, okay? Now, if we move on and we go over to the settings in Navigator of the Neural Agent, you can see that up here we have this setting panel. You can click it and you'll see we have an additional settings option for you. And like I said, we will be moving everything over here, but for now it's separate like this. So what you have here is a settings overview, and the first thing you can see is really that the Neural Agent is connected and that the human in the loop settings is disabled, HITL disabled. So let me just talk about HITL. HITL means human in the loop. This is a manual override. This is if you see a market and for some reason you really want to start trading this market. You can enable HIT here, and then you can go to the specific market you want to trade. You can click here and it will enable HITL. You can see it will have an orange and it will have a dash through the shield. This means that there's no safety on. The safety is off. You are now in full control of this operation. And it also means it's not going to do anything intelligently for you of exiting the trade or something. It's just going to place orders, take profit, and stop whenever you tell it to stop. So this is a manual setting, and for most, then they're never going to use it. But for some people, they like to have it. So that's why we have it right now. Now, HITL is not the only thing that you can click here. You can also click specifically on an active market or working market to disable it if you don't want it to trade. And this way you can manually control which markets to trade. You can also go between all the different markets. If you want to see them, you can just click directly on the symbol and it will be switching between all these markets, and you can have a look at what's actually going on in them. As we go down, we also have the risk for the specific market that has been set. So you can see it says 12% here, and this 12% is set default by the default risk for each market. So up here I could, for example, change this to 25. Now you can see all the default risk across all the markets changes to 25. But 12 is a pretty good place to start. And again, it depends on your account size. It depends on what the market is doing. A lot of people will be tempted sometimes to go back to nil agent. They will go into the scale risk based on trend strength. They'll put this to false. They'll put this to false, and they will now have disabled two of the most important safety features of nil agent. It's not that it can't work. It's just that it's not there's not much harmony in this system. Okay, so as they do this, it will now override the minimum risk that should be, and they can go ahead and they can change the risk here as well to increase it. And this is what some people have to do if their account is so small that it just won't place orders. And what I'm saying to you is that if you're going about this and you're disabling the trend scaling of the risk, and you're also changing skip order small and minimum, you really have to watch out, because when you're doing this, it means that, you know, first of all, you're changing the safe settings of how this tool works. So you're now on your own, and there's a lot of markets here that might have a minimum order size with their broker. For example, oil, VTI, CO, USD, Westex and oil. For example, in oil, it has a minimum position size of 0.5 lot. That's a huge position size. It's a huge. You probably need like a $10,000 account to be able to trade this safely. So if you do this and you go here and you change these settings, then you are asking for trouble if you are not disabling markets like this. So that's why I keep saying, try to just keep the default settings. Don't change this. You know, I know that a lot of people, sometimes the market gets really quiet and they just want to force it to trade. But I want to remind you that the only reason that we make money with this is because that we have the patience to sit out of these markets when everyone else is just getting destroyed in them, right? This is the whole point. We wait for everyone else to get destroyed in these markets, and then when it finally starts going somewhere, that's where we leap in and we make our money. And whenever we don't have any confidence, whenever we don't have a high concentrated entropy energy going into the market, we just stay out of it, okay? Because it's not predictable. And that is what these settings are for. These settings are for to make sure that you don't get hurt, right? But again, if you have a small account, then you'll have to take substantially more risk than everyone else if you want to make it work. Or you just save it up, go back out, make some money, come back, put it together, make it work for you, right? So these are the setting options. And the last part I wanted to add was the total risk allocation of the account. So what this is designed to do is set a max risk that the algorithm, the neural agent, is allowed to use. And in this case, it's set to 30%. That means that in my account, I have a $10,000 account. It will be using $3,000 of risk. And you can increase this. Some people have it at 60, some people have it at 100. What I always tell people is that whatever you change this to, okay, so whatever you change, whether it's 60, 100 or whatever, just keep watching the risk tab and just monitor the kind of risk that's being deployed across these markets. And as long as you are aware of the risk that's being deployed, then you're fine. But if you start, you know, just not being aware of changes that you do and increases of risk and so on, you can get in trouble. So it's always good to keep a clear head and just do what you're supposed to do. All right, so here in the end, we have this trend view, and I just want to touch on this a little bit. So the first we have here, this is basically an aggregate of these three ones that you have here. So this is like the total trend strength of the market. And then you have a short, a mid, and a long group here. You can also call it a local, a micro, and a macro trend reading. And if you want even more information, you can click this frequency states, and then you can see it across the 10-year, the 1 year, the 1 month, daily, 4 hour, 1 hour, so on. And this gives you some information in how our technology works. And it's probably not going to be around forever. So this is your option to have an insight in the market. And you can also go ahead, right click, and you can click view analysis. but you can also just double click on a market and it will pull up a historical view and the trend view of this current market. Now, this is really technology that we're phasing out. It's not that we're not using it, it's just that you don't need to see this anymore, because we used to do this manually. Before we automated this, we traded this neural trading strategy manually, and it was very successful because of how good it is to detect these buying and selling programs and energy that moves into the market. So because we have this technology and we used to do it manually, that's why you still see some of this stuff. But in the future, this is all gonna disappear. It's just gonna run for you. You're not gonna have to do anything. It's just gonna fully run automatically for you. It's gonna be beautiful. And you know, this is what we're working on every day. And that's why it's so exciting for me and the team to just every day wake up and work on this, because it is so good and it's helping so many people. And I want to remind people again, we are here to stop and remove manual trading from humanity. It's just not something humans should be dealing with, no matter how you look at it. And I have watched data from over 125,000 people. I have seen data from IC markets, you know. No matter how you look at it, humans are not successful traders in the long run. They might have a good month, they might have a good year, they might have a temporary success. They will never have long-term success in the financial markets. It's just like casinos. It's a legal casino, in fact. And as you know, the house also always wins. So the only way to go about these financial markets and continuously extract money from them is by using the volatility in the market and operating like all the other people who consistently extract money from here. And that is the market makers, the liquidity providers, and the brokers. So all we're doing is just aligning with these big boys who is already moving the market and doing market making and dealing. And we just notice how the order flow is going between these different entities. And I'm talking about the buyer, the seller, the market maker, and liquidity provider. And based on how they interact together, based on how this is all coming together, we can see when there's opportunity in the market to extract profits. And that is what we are ranking here in the trend index, all the markets after. It is our ability to extract profit from these markets. That is what we're doing here. So the last thing I want to touch on here is the heart. So what does this heart mean? This heart means capitulation. It's basically a hard stop. This is what will happen. This is whenever a market at some point changes where it's heading, meaning that the energy coming into the market compared to the energy that already exists in the market is starting to flip. And you can imagine it like a stream where suddenly, you know, the fish swimming against the stream start swimming so hard that they actually turn the direction of the whole stream. That is what happens in these financial markets at these trend transitions, when they eventually, you know, go from going one certain direction to starting going a different certain direction, right? And you can see it here, where you have a market going down here and then suddenly coming back up, right? This is classic. It happens all the time in the markets. The goal is to be able to determine it and see it. So that is pretty much it for neural agent overview here. If there's any questions that I didn't cover properly, feel free to put it in a comment below. And I just want to say thank you so much for being part of the Break-Free Trading Revolution. And I am on live stream every Wednesday, 1300 UTC. So come and say hi. And otherwise, yeah, take back your time, reclaim your life, let Neural Agent do the work for you, and go find what makes you happy. I wish you all to have a great day. See you around.